To Ukraine now, where Russian troops are reported to have started pulling out of areas around Kyiv. But it's expected many of them will reappear in the Donbass in southeastern Ukraine. As the Kremlin's military strategy is reset, the suffering and misery for millions of people inside Ukraine continues. When the invasion began, we spoke to many people. Tonight, we go back to two of them. One who fears the worst of the war is coming to them, and another who has seen it in all its horror and barely escaped. Conor McMorrow reports.
Many people said, now we will close our eyes, open them, and everything will be as it was before. But it didn't happen.
The words of Elena Popova, one of the fortunate ones to escape from Mariupol, where 170,000 people are still trapped.
I live on the 4th floor on a 5-story building, apartment building. So I stayed in my apartment for 16 days. The shelling didn't stop a single day. Very few amounts of water was left. Food supplies were very, very scarce, and I can't imagine how much food they could have now.
There are fresh hopes today that civilians can be evacuated via a safe corridor from Mariupol. Such hopes have been dashed before by the Russians, and senior US officials have warned people are starving to death. Elena will never forget the first sight of fatalities in her neighbourhood.
People had to bury or to take dead bodies to this short forest or park and put them on the ground with an inscription with the names and the date of death.
After 3 weeks under siege, Elena eventually found a girl with a car willing to take her on the risky journey out of the city.
We moved under fierce shelling. There were 7 of us in the car plus a dog. We saw a huge column of private cars moving to the first checkpoint. And alongside with the car lines, there were people walking on foot. And that scene is the worst I have seen in my life. I saw a man moving on the crutches. I saw babies, toddlers. And when 2 columns of cars and people were moving on the road, and it was along the seaside, then we started shelling from the sea.
After a long journey, Elena eventually made it to Poland, haunted by what she left behind in Mariupol.
It has been turned to a pile of ashes. It has been leveled to the ground. Can you imagine? 500,000 city, and many people still stay in shelters, in basement, and no way to take them out.
Alexei Lodika lives in Kramatorsk, a city in the Donbass region where, following a pivot in its military strategy, the Russians look set to focus their efforts.
Now everybody understands that Russians will focus on the Donetsk region because everybody is waiting for the battle in the city. Everybody tried to protect their windows by wood or something else. We will have a lot of damages here. I think a lot of people will die.
A third of Kramatorsk's population has fled the city so far.
My wife and my daughter stayed with me to the start of the march, because in the march we had the first missile attacks, first destroyed buildings, first victims. My wife and my daughter went to France, so they are in a safe place.
Alexei is waiting to be called up to the army, and in the meantime has been working with a local defence group where he has been getting supplies for vulnerable people and soldiers.
They asked me to find candies, meat and cigarettes. the same that happened with Mariupol can happen with Kramatorsk. It may be happen, but I hope it will not happen. Because our city is beautiful, our city is peaceful, and our army is strong.
Conor McNamara.